Josh, nice job. I
Thank
love
you.
how you treated that hymn. What were you thinking while playing that? I mean, I'm always eager to hear what organists think when they're playing hymns and accompanying hymn or various hymns.
Um, well, I was first thinking about sort of where it would fall in the service.
Hmm.
Um, and I wouldn't normally do such an extended introduction to a hymn unless it was um, potentially at the beginning of the service, depending on there's some parts in our church service that come before that. So if they're often we'll do like an acknowledgement of the land. And if that's the case, I'm more hesitant to go right into a big sort of hymn like that. And so to transition us in, or if it follows the sermon, which is often where that hymn seems to wind up, um, I always tell the clergy I work with that I plan on you preaching a breathtaking sermon, and people need some time to take it in. So before we get up and sing something, it needs a bit of transitional space. Um, that hymn, as it shows up in our hymnal in Voices United here in Canada, is meant to be sung in unison throughout. So um, as a result, I try and really interpret as much as possible the text. So that first stanza is fairly generic, but I was really following on the third stanza for us for that. This what we hear is the second bit, which is "Be thou my battle shield, my sword for the fight," and to really um, illustrate that kind of wrestling with it.
Is that when you put on the reeds?
That's when the reeds come
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
minor, and then it resolves a bit back to major,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the last verse just sort of opens it up. There's a couple more in there that I would take back down and then build back up. Um, but I found when I was at school in Dallas at Southern Methodist University, one of my profs said, it's pretty boring to play five stanzas or six stanzas of a hymn in SATB form and just change a stop every time. And so, what are the ways that you can vary the texture, the um, as well as the registration,
Movement.
or illustrate the text? Since in my setting in particular, but I suspect in a wide variety of settings, there aren't a lot of people who are singing in four parts
Mhm.
beyond the choir and
Mhm.
a select few others. So
Right,
I make
right.
an effort to list, okay, prepare yourselves for harmony on this one and the rest. Um, if you do, good luck, but I won't be with you.
So, what was your first introduction to the organ, and how did you become interested in playing the instrument?
So I'm not sure is the answer. Um, my parents tell me I was always interested in it. I don't have that clear memory. Um, I know when I was a kid, we have family friends who live in Passau in Germany, and the Catholic cathedral there, St. Stephen's, has like the world's largest cathedral pipe organ. Um, and we had a book, and it had a picture of the facade in it. And I do remember being fascinated. I mean, it was built, whatever, in the 19th or 20th century, but it has that sort of Baroque style, the golden pipes, the really ornate carvings. It's just huge. And when I was young, when I was about 8, we went to Germany and went there for a concert and sat up in the loft with the guy. And um, it was just, I was really, really revved up to play. Um, but I don't like, this will, I guess, come up again later. I was raised Roman Catholic, and we were total folk mass people. Uh, Marty Haugen, Michael Jonkus, like that's my bread and butter as a kid. Guitars, piano, percussion, like it was not organs and chant. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not sure what the draw to it was for me,
Gotcha.
um,
So the
except
instrument
that there
grabbed
was one.
you. So I mean, now I'm hearing about your background, your Catholic background, your Marty Haugen background, and your Catholic Roman Catholic Church influence. But how has the church or hymns of the church influenced your playing or decision to wanting to be a musician?
Um, I would say that I mean, it wasn't the spark at the beginning. It's sort of become the spark, I would say. Um, and my first my first real sort of church job was as an organ scholar in my last year of high school, and this was my introduction to hymns.
Mhm.
Like I had no idea what these things were really, um, and playing hymns on the organ. It was in an Anglican church or Episcopalian equivalent for the States, and uh, the good old sort of square Victorian hymnody, um, with a bit of maybe a little bit of Taizé mixed in there once in a while. Um, and so the organist that I worked with sort of taught me, everything was brand new to me. All of these hymns, all of these texts, these tunes, how they fit into a liturgy.
Mhm.
Um, it was really, it was not something I really had thought about or was aware of. Um, and it really developed when I went away to do my undergrad. Um, so I did a music degree in organ, but there was a Lutheran seminary on campus, and they were really pushing the bounds of what it was to be a community of faith, to do music, expanding into global song, new texts and tunes. What's your instrumentation? How does all this stuff fit into liturgy? Um, and they really challenged me to think about um, these these songs, and that it matters, essentially, that it matters what you sing, when you sing it, how you sing it. Um, and that kind of, I think that kind of contextual thinking
Mhm.
is what really energized me. I really love sort of that crafting of liturgy as a whole, with how you weave music in and how all the pieces relate to one another.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you talked about your high school senior experience when you were a senior in high school experience and working with an organist. And is this someone you would consider a church musician who influenced you to be a church musician or a budding musician? You want to tell us who this is and their influence they had on you?
Yeah, so this guy Gordon, had been at St. John's for about, I think it was 35 years by the time I arrived. And St. John's is this really beautiful Anglican church in downtown Ottawa where I live. Um, Sort of Art Nouveau, kind of a weird mix of architectural styles, very dark, wood paneled,
Mhm.
no acoustic whatsoever.
Wow.
Um, and Gordon always said, because there's no acoustic in here, I'm just going to fill the place with music. So we always had a really eclectic mix of instruments that were all in solid shape, but not breathtaking. A
Gotcha.
sort of old kind of piano, a little tracker organ. He built a digital organ. And on certain days, he would pull out, there'd be a celesta or a keyed glockenspiel. There was a string orchestra that rehearsed there, so they'd come in for a couple
Really?
Sundays a year, and then big choir. Um, and so I don't know what I would call that except sort of just like the textured sound of music. Um, but Gordon strove for high level. He was demanding, but I think the thing that always sticks out for me with him is at the service would start at 10:15, and at 10:15 he'd say, whatever happens, happens. And if it worked, great, great. And if it fell apart, it didn't matter. You put in the work, but at 10:15 it was for the glory of God and for the people that you were serving. Um, and I think I sort of forgot about that over time. And now that I'm in a leadership role, think about that all the time of we're going to put in the work, but at the end of the day, um, it's not about how close we come to perfection, but how good we do to one another in this sort of community experience. So I still go visit him a few times a month. He's still going strong at St. John's.
That's amazing.
And and he's one of those people that even as I venture into different paths, into studies of liturgy or global song or theology or whatever it is, he has my back 100%.
That's amazing.
He's truly remarkable.
Awesome. So if you were to speak to a beginning organist or a church musician or someone who wanted to go into organ performance, what insights would you share with this young musician?
Um, I would say play loud while you're young, because eventually you'll learn that it's not worth it. But when you're just starting out, just
Full organ.
go all in, all in all the time. It's so worth it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I did not pursue a career in organ performance.
Mhm.
That's not my life.
I understand.
I I've performed. I enjoy it, but I don't have the drive to practice 8 hours a day for that. So, um,
Yeah,
but a career in church music is certainly where I'm at, and um, I think a career in church music now means incredible versatility
mhm.
and openness.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
not thinking of yourself primarily as an organist, but as sort of a community music facilitator, or as Michael Hahn would say, sort of a musical enlivener.
Mhm.
You're going to sing, you're going to play, you're going to check your email a lot, you're going to do lots of choral conducting. If you can drum and do a bunch of other instruments, you'll be right at home.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even young students now here at this university, I tell them, church jobs now, you have to be diverse as possible. Just being the organist and playing Bach chorales is not going to get you a job these days.
No, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
And to like invest in being whether you want to call it a minister or a pastoral musician, like you will be an integral part of a ministry team.
Mhm.
And um, you're not necessarily going to be doing everything that everyone else does,
Exactly.
but your your role is crucial. And so know what you're getting into, know the history of your denomination, their style of worship,
So true.
um, the what your clergy partner or your colleagues in ministry, what their jobs are and how they have to do it, and um, the work that goes into those things, that we can have compassion for one another, because
Yeah.
it gets tough.
Yeah.
um,
It's more than just playing the organ and preparing rehearsals. It has to be
yeah,
some kind of engagement
yeah,
with the community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Joshua, I don't want to hold you. I thank you for sharing the video. I thank you for answering our questions. And we appreciate this. You're one of 4 organists that we're interviewing. And I'm glad that you were able to do this and we found the time. And
Me too.
yes, I wish you all the best. And you have my number, you have my email address. So don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything.
Thanks so much.
All right. All the best.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.